We're ready to start our meeting. I'm glad everyone's here. Okay, some ground rules is no one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulties, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Board members, the chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. Okay, I call the meeting to order at 6:34 p.m. Angel, can you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Stephanie Arroyo. April Autry.
Present.
Adem Brija. Devin Crenshaw.
Present.
Jewel Jones.
Present.
Marissa Mack. Giselle Malabe.
Present.
Jennifer Meyer.
Present.
Jessica Morris.
Here.
Robert Perez.
Present.
Eugene Rodriguez.
Present.
Vinnie Torres. Jenny Tromsky is excused. You have quorum.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the adoption of the agenda. Angel, do we have minutes to adopt for this month?
We do not.
Okay, so we do not have minutes to adopt for this month. We'll keep you updated for the next month so that we can adopt the minutes up to date. Adoption of the agenda. All opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none. The agenda is adopted. Announcements. The next meeting of CB11's Economic Development and Culture Committee is scheduled for November 15th at 6:30 p.m. Are there any other announcements? Okay, we can move on. Okay, our chair, Marissa Mack, is not here for this evening. I wasn't informed of any informational updates on her end. So we'll move on to Uptown Grand Central. I believe Carrie King.
Hi, Giselle. Thank you so much. And good evening, everyone. I'll just keep the remarks brief, just a few updates. Since our last meeting, there was the two grants from the state, the New York State Pandemic Relief and a seed grant, which is a newer grant that recently came out for newer businesses, had deadlines. And we were able to get a lot of businesses, I think, who had missed out on funding under previous rounds. Some of them applied, and big thanks to Jenny Tromsky, who is a member of this committee. She actually, even though she's not really assigned to East Harlem, she actually helped out. I sent her a few of our more difficult cases of things I couldn't figure out, and she does that professionally. So shout out to Jenny for getting some money for our East Harlem folks, which is great. Also within the past month, we were an applicant for Regional Economic Development Council funding. And I would say it's a long shot that we get it, but also wanted to give a shout out to Angel and Community Board for a support letter. It's a kind of thing where it's $10 million in funding for a neighborhood for capital improvements. and my sense of it is you have to apply many years before you get it. But we're in year 1, so that was a big deal over the past month. Also wanted to let y'all know, of course, the clean team continues on 125th Street. We're also doing something called the 1000 Daffodil Project, and this is thanks to New Yorkers for Parks, which gave us a lot of daffodil bulbs. So we planted some along the Lexington Avenue corridor near several of the businesses there. This weekend, we're doing a planting along East 125th Street. But if you guys have any other corridors that you want planted, either we can help or at least we can give you bulbs. So let me know. We actually have, I think it's more like 1,800 bulbs. We just called it 1,000. So we got a lot of bulbs to get in the ground, and they overwinter in the soil and then they pop up in the spring. So they're always a happy reminder in the spring that spring is coming. And then also just in terms of events, of course, the open streets have continued. They're going to continue until the end of October. This past weekend, we were able to do a showcase at La Marqueta. There's 2 new businesses in there. I'm not sure if you guys know. One is Lizzie's Treats, which took over the spot where Sprinkle Splash Cupcakes used to be. And then also Coco Tazo, which is a really delicious Puerto Rican home style place. The owner had been at the Queen's Night Market for many seasons, and the Queen's Night Market is known for really good food. So I would suggest y'all stop by La Marqueta this past weekend at the open street. They were out doing sampling, as was Amuse Bouche, and then through SBS and DOT, we had some pilot projects out there for street furniture that we can use to activate commercial corridors in future years. It's still in the pilot project stage. And then of course, Party on Park was canceled, but I'm not gonna talk about that because it was so sad. But we got rained out for Party on Park. Hopefully that'll be back next year. And then other upcoming events, we're working with El Museo and Union Settlement and La Marqueta to do Day of the Dead activations. And I think Chelsea might be talking about that later, but there's a Day of the Dead activation on Saturday, the 29th at La Marqueta. And then that following week, about 7 of our local Mexican businesses are going to be hosting bands that will bring people to their stores to also see the ofrendas, the altars that they set for Day of the Dead. So that's coming up. And then there's going to be 2 Halloween events, one at La Marqueta's open street and La Marqueta, and then the other one at the open street at 100 and 101st. And then Harlem Restaurant Week is November 1st through 15th. So stay tuned for all of that. And last thing is I just wanted to say a shout out to Union Settlement. I'm so happy that Michelle Cruz is back. It's sad that she left the council member's office, but she is back at Union Settlement. And I feel like that's going to be great things for all of us. We're all going to do some good work together. So back to you, Giselle.
Thank you so much, Carrie. That was a lot of information. That's good.
Sorry.
And I'm excited to hear that. Also, I wanted to welcome back Michelle too. I'm excited for that. And then just as a side note, the 2 new businesses, they're like brand new, right?
Well, they've been around for a little bit. It's the way that the EDC does leasing at La Marqueta. It takes them a while to get the businesses in. So they were actually both present for the night market last season, but it took them a while to get in. But they're relatively young businesses.
Okay. And then they're added to the WhatsApp chat, right? Okay.
You know what? I don't think they're on the WhatsApp yet. I'll ask them if they want to join that.
All right. Thank
Good
you so
point.
much. And I'll open it up to any questions that anyone may have for Carrie.
Got a question, Giselle. All right.
Go ahead, Jessica. Hello.
Sounds good. Hello. Carrie, wow, always wow. Can you say again slowly? That's okay. There's a lot and you went fast, which is good. But the big fish that you're year 1, this regional frame, I think it's huge in some ways, capital investment, but you also can't get on the hook too early with that sort of thing. It sounds like we gave you a letter, but is there anything more we can do to prepare for the next round if this round doesn't go well? It sounds like it's a big ask, and to try to do as much as possible to support you in that effort is probably a good thing sooner than later. No?
That's a great
What is
question.
it, is the question.
What is,
What
yeah,
that?
sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take up the whole meeting. The Regional Economic Development Council, New York State is divided into 10 regions. And each of them are different geographies, and each geography competes for $10 million. It's been going on for several years now. I think it took a pause for COVID, but New York City, the 5 boroughs compete against each other. And I think in 2016, Jamaica and Queens won. 2017, I think it was in the Bronx. And then most recently, Chinatown won. Chinatown won last year. So precedent is that it rotates around to the different boroughs. So precedent would say that Manhattan is not going to get it this year. That's okay, because it's kind of a, it's a lot to compete. And so the way that the process works is, once a neighborhood is selected, the neighborhood forms a committee that then discusses what they want the capital improvements to be. And then that is presented to the state, and the state essentially kind of picks from the offerings the community has presented what the capital improvements will be. And $10 million sounds like a lot of money, but in capital, it's actually, you can get like maybe a bathroom or two, like at a park. You get maybe like 2 conversations out of it. But it depends on what the asks are. So for this year, there's no big ask, but it's definitely something to be thinking about. Is, and when we wrote the application, I read the statement of district needs, Giselle. So we pulled a lot of information from that. So the community board was definitely represented in terms of like asks and wants based on all the documents that the community board already produces in terms of what the requests are for the neighborhood.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. I don't see any more hands. Okay, we can move on. Thank you, Carrie, again. Thank you, Justin. Very good question. We'll move on to Union Settlement Business Development Center. I'm not sure who's here on behalf of Union Settlement, but
I don't think anyone's on. We do have Chelsea from Museo. I don't know if she has an update to provide or not.
okay. Thank you, Angel. So then I guess we can move on to the next slide. Okay, we have our discussions and presentations part of the meeting. The first presentation, we're introducing Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone and some loan products available for small business. Hi, Miss Moriam Espino, or Mr. from UMass. Welcome.
I don't see Moram on here unless it's under another name, which is weird.
Okay. Hopefully someone from UMass hops on so that we can hear some of the loan products they have available for our small businesses. For now, we'll move on to the fiscal year 2024 Statement of District Needs and Budget Requests. We're going to review the budget requests and make recommendations for additions and removals, and also our ranking, our priority ranking for our requests this year.
Giselle, I'm sorry. Chelsea has updates to share before we move on. So if you don't mind, can we just go back for a second so Chelsea can announce those events?
Yes, that's great. That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I wasn't sure if I was included in the schedule of events for evening's
You're
meeting,
included
but...
every month, Chelsea. Now you've been forewarned.
Great. Well, thank you for giving me the floor. Just wanted to share a few updates on some of the programming that we have coming up at El Museo. So as Carrie mentioned earlier, we're working with Uptown Grand Central and Union Settlement to have our annual Dia de los Muertos celebration at La Marqueta. That'll be happening on Saturday, October 29th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And last year we had it at La Marqueta for the first time, and we had a really great turnout. So we're super excited to be partnering again with La Marqueta and have the celebration in a community space. We are going to have some art workshops led by our artist educators. We're going to have live music and dance performances by some traditional Mexican groups. And we'll also have a community ofrenda that'll be designed by a local East Harlem-based artist, and that'll be at the center. That'll be the central focus of the event. I will follow up with a flyer. Hopefully I can get one from our team so I can forward it to everyone so that they can have all the information. So far we're receiving a really great response. We just put out the news a few days ago and already have over 400 RSVP. So we're super excited for the community to come out and celebrate with us again this year. We also have our fall exhibitions coming up. We've been closed for about a month and a half after the closing of our last exhibition, but we're super excited that our three new exhibitions are going to be coming to the galleries starting October 27th, and they'll be open until March 26th. So it'll be all through the fall and winter. And the three exhibitions are, we have one called Domestica Next, which is going to feature intergenerational artists, and they will be, their art will be reflecting on ideas around the home and around spirituality and healing, and this idea of domesticana, which is like the working woman, and what does that mean, and themes of feminism. Also, our other exhibition is going to be Por America, which is a retrospective of the artist Juan Francisco Elso's work. He's a Cuban artist that was really instrumental in the 1980s. And then our third exhibition is going to be, it's called Methuselah, and it's kind of a hybrid augmented reality type of exhibition where folks can come and pretty much see the migrational journey of a monarch butterfly, and that work reflects on this idea of migration and borders, and what does it mean to be like a borderless creature. And this is developed by the Cuban artist Rainier Leyva Novo. So those are our three exhibitions that we have coming up, and that will open next week, October 27th. I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you so much, Chelsea, for the updates. I do have a question before anyone else jumps in. How long, you said you had 3 exhibitions. How long does each exhibition usually last?
So all 3 of them are going to be open from October through March. So that'll be about 5 months. So October 27th to March 26th. And we also are hoping, we're bringing back our in-person guided tours, our guided gallery tours. They've been on hiatus because of COVID, but we're going to bring them back. Our museum educators are going to be leading tours. They're still finalizing which to be, and these are free tours for the community. I believe it may be Sunday, twice on Sundays, usually in the afternoons, but I will follow up once they finalize the details on what days those guided tours will be available for folks to come.
Okay, and if you can circulate those, like, I guess pass us the flyer whenever it's available for the Dia de los Muertos that's coming up, and then, because we'd love to help you disseminate that information for sure. Thank you so much, Chelsea.
Yes, absolutely.
If anyone else, Eugene has a question. Hello, Eugene, go ahead.
Thank you, Giselle, for recognizing me. Chelsea, do you have any plans for productions in the theater anytime soon?
Well, we have, we're, starting planning for Three Kings Day, and we plan to activate the theater for that, for the community celebration. This year, it's looking like we'll be able to bring the parade back in person for the first time since COVID. So we're super excited about being able to do that. We'll be definitely activating the theater for that. As far as that goes, we don't have anything on the calendar right now beyond the Three Kings plans.
Any other question, Eugene? Did she answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that question. Anyone else? Thank you so much, Chelsea, again for the updates, and we will hear from you soon. Thank you. Angel, can you share the screen? I think I'm only seeing Eugene right now.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Sorry, I was trying to do it quickly.
No worries.
It didn't work. You should be seeing the budget, right?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so same as last month, we took a look at our requests. I went ahead and, based off of our discussion, kept the ones that we felt we still wanted and removed or revised the ones that needed as well. And then we went ahead and added a request. I just want to ask if everyone had a chance to take a look, if they have any questions or comments. Now is the time to have a conversation about that. So I'll open it up, open discussion. Jessica's your hand up.
It is, Giselle. I just want to clarify, in looking at this spreadsheet, it's our line item number 6. The staff recommendation was to keep that line item. And we suggested the committee recommendation was to remove that item. I want to call that out just to kind of confirm. And then line item 9. I think there was a discrepancy as well where the staff recommendation was to remove and we wanted to keep. And just to
Okay.
line item. Sorry, I thought it was 6. Hang
6 and I see.
Yeah, line item number 6, which is to, in short form, provide or expand occupational skills training programs. The staff recommended to keep that and we recommended remove.
We should definitely keep that. Anyone else with some comments in regards to 6? We should definitely.
I believe the long form is on workforce development programs, which the committee recommended revision is that we should be doing further study or follow up with SBS. I agree that following up with SBS sounds like a great idea, but definitely think that removing that request is maybe not in the best interest of the community asks. I know we're
Okay.
supposed to be on prioritizing.
Yes. No worries. We're discussing everything, remove, additions, removals, just giving it that last kind of polish before we send it off to Angel. So in 6, we are keeping. And then 9, if you could scroll down a little bit, Angel, to 9, please. Thank you. And this is to expand programs in emerging and legacy industries such as fashion, film, advanced food manufacturing. I believe, yes, that is also to keep as per Francisco. So yeah, if you guys think we should keep it, I know that Francisco had mentioned when he did his presentation, he touched up on every single one of our requests that had to do with EDC. And I did add so in suggesting to remove that one, I added, that's where the new one came in. The new request came in, the one that that had to do with activating the theaters for film and
Line 12.
in that industry. Mm-hmm. But we can keep both, or we could definitely keep all three, 6, 9, and you guys could tell me what you think about 12.
Wait, I have a question. Oh, sorry, I see other people have questions too.
Go ahead, it's an open discussion, so I guess as long as we all are heard.
I just want clarification. Are we putting in 12 in lieu of another one, or 12 is just a new one?
I had originally moved 9 to put in 12, but we can keep both 9 and 12 because I think the point that Jessica made about 6 kind of also relates to 9.
Gotcha.
Taking would probably not be good, so.
I have a question about 6.
Go ahead, Eugene.
Yeah, I have seen 2, I think there's 2 workforce development officers in the neighborhood. I don't see them doing any classes. I don't see anybody going in and out. I don't see any work being done there. I think we should check these places out before we give them more support.
What place, can you be specific?
Let me see, I think there's one on 120th Street off of Lexington. Passed by there the other day, not even the lights were on. I think there's another one on 108th Street. Place looks fabulous. No classes being given, no work being done. I don't know if those are the ones that anybody's familiar with, but those are the ones I've seen.
Okay. I mean, it's definitely a good point to raise, and we can reach out to them as a committee, and even as members, if we could stop by if that's in your route one day and just kind of poke your head in, ask, see maybe who's a point of contact, and we can reach out to them for sure, because those places do have to be activated.
Giselle, may I offer just a general comment, Eugene, to build on your concern? I think every September, October, November, we're kind of confronted with this responsibility to come up with new budget requests or assess our standing budget requests. And it is really something that we should be actively engaging with. I think Angel said this last night, Stephanie, at the district needs meeting, actively engaging, whether it's engaging on specific line items with elected officials, or Eugene, to your point, doing some research from the committee perspective about existing points of services and how well those services are being delivered once funding is granted. Is that outside of our responsibility? It is in some ways, but are we supposed to be informed community members? We are. So I'm not sure that there's necessarily a formal process that we have in place to be doing that work year round, other than it's September, what are our budget requests? So I don't know where the hot button items for economic development and culture are through the rest of the year, and what those kind of action items would be to make this a year-round set of activities that we would be continuing to work on collectively. But I agree that it is important to understand where some of these asks and dollars are landing. I'm glad to see Angel's hand.
Jessica, go ahead, Angel.
That was funny, Jessica. I actually, it is in the purview of the committee. It's in the purview of every committee to be considering and being aware of the organizations or the services that correspond to the work of each respective committee. So similar, give an example, the Human Services Committee is doing this analysis of all the the treatment facilities and treatment centers in the district. So similarly, things that fall under the purview of this committee, like if it's a workforce development office or a merchants association or a cultural organization, having those organizations in, investigating what they're doing, what they're not doing, having discussion with them, seeing if they've been funded and if they're actually producing. That's absolutely within your all's purview, and actually exactly what you should be doing. Like, not knocking on their door. You could do that if you want, but I mean in terms of like bringing them into committee.
Thanks, Angel.
Could you scroll down? I can't see the bottom after 11.
It's a secret. You can hold on.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I guess, I mean, discussion is still open. I'll just make a comment in regards to what Jessica said. I think that, yes, it's not just September, October that we're taking a look and going back to this document and seeing like, okay, what are the responses and just tweaking things here and there. I think that like, once we submit this to Angel, we can take a look at this budget request tracker, every month and see what progress we've made. If anyone has, like Jessica mentioned, some hot buttons, workforce development organizations is something super important. And if they're not being activated for whatever reason, it is in our best interest for the committee, for our community to find out, to help them, to, just further investigate, I'd say. So I agree. I think we should take apart each request and look into how we can, ask these specific requests when SBS comes and DCLA, like Francisco had done last month, and etc. And just start to kind of pick them out, each person kind of on their way, on their route. If you see something, take a note of it, let us know, reach out, and we can all, touch base on this every month. Is that something that everyone would be interested in doing? I take that as a yes.
I think that's a
Sounds
great
like a
thing.
goal. Yeah.
Okay, so I can put together like a little spreadsheet or something that we can take a look at next month on one of like our easier months. We just can take maybe 20 minutes and 30 minutes to just kind of brush up and see, okay, has anyone reached out? Eugene, you can pop in and see what's going on with those 2 workforce developments. I know we always talk to like Strive, and the ones that pop in, those we know are constantly in communication with us. But I can come up with some type of a spreadsheet, and we can take it, we can take a look from there. Jessica, you're more than welcome to also help me out with that spreadsheet if you have time. Are there any other questions, comments, additions, maybe something that I left out, something that, you think we should add into this document before we move on to the priority ranking?
Nope.
Okay. So then let's move on to the ranking. Angel, how exactly in your experience, what do we just start shouting out numbers, or?
Giselle, you've got 2 hands up too.
Thank you, Jessica. Eugene and Tamika. I'm sorry, Tamika, I didn't see your hand. I'll let Eugene ask. I'll yield to the community member, and then Tamika, you can go. Go ahead, Eugene.
Let me unmute here. Thank you for recognizing me, Giselle. I wanted to speak to item 12. I'm not as concerned about workforce development as I am about theater. As you know, I'm a playwright, and the fact that these theaters are not operating 24/7 just tears my heart apart. And I was hoping that the committee would support me in getting the Economic Development Corporation and the cultural DCLA into a meeting with us to discuss how we can activate these theaters.
Okay, thank you, Eugene. We should all make a note of that, and so did I. Tamika, hi, hello.
Oh, and I'd like to get a high priority for the theater thing. Sorry.
Hey, Ray, thank you, Chair. I don't know if I'm allowed to provide input, but on item, I think it was 9, talking about the laws for small businesses. Are we taking into account for those small businesses that actually work out of their home? Because some of them are, don't know about payroll taxes or some of the laws that they may have to follow. They may not be aware of that, especially for cyber liability stuff from the DFS. Are we taking that into consideration?
Thank you, Tamika. Can you scroll down to 9 quickly, Angel, please?
I
Thank
think
you.
she's talking about number 7.
Assist with on-site businesses. So I am not sure if on-site is included with businesses that are operating from like their homes. But I'm sure if it's a legit business and it has, all its paperwork and corporation papers and all of that, that it is considered a business. So we can add in perhaps a line that, speaks to businesses that are not just in like a brick and mortar, but also maybe, in their own homes. Is that what you meant, Tamika?
Yes, I do, because we have a lot. I'm for one, I have a legitimate business and I work from my home, even though I keep up with the different laws that's changing. Not everybody's so lucky to be like me as well.
So just to confirm, Giselle, you're suggesting that there be an addition in the reason box of that line item. I do want to point out that line item number 7, the one we're talking about, is indicated as a remove.
I think, and I don't want to speak, I don't want to speak outside of what the board or this committee agreed upon, but I'm assuming that the reason that we probably removed it is because, if I'm not mistaken, it's talking about the COVID-19 safety regulations, which aren't the case. We're not in that case anymore. That's what I'm thinking, though. I don't know.
I believe we removed it because there was a lot of a lot of information passed in terms of compliance to the businesses. And I think that there also was, I gave an example of the liquor license fee. So I think that the city is taking regulations, into consideration with the on-site businesses. But if we want to keep it, we can. Every time we go to every time SBS comes here, they make sure that they are disseminating information to the businesses in English and Spanish and other sites. But I don't think we've ever touched up on businesses outside of the brick and mortar, like what Tamika's saying.
So
But it is for removal, so.
just item number 11, which is in its request, is other business regulatory assistance requests. So what I hear Tamika saying may fall into that category, whereas we intend to keep that one. But it may also be an appropriate add in the reason to include home-based businesses in a post-COVID-19 work from home era or something of that nature. Would that suffice as far as recognizing that shifting set of business practices that I'm sure exist beyond just Tamika in our district, incorporating it in a line item that we had intended to keep.
Yeah, that would be fine. I just want to make sure that we always think of, our small businesses that's not in a brick and mortar, because sometimes we get left out of the resources. Sometimes we get left of the conversation of actually what's going on in the community when we actually have businesses that's thriving in the community.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I've just further read the reason, and it's about commercial organics, which isn't.
So maybe next year we can start putting our heads together and trying to figure out how we're going to support non-brick and mortar businesses.
Giselle, if I may.
Yep.
So I think it's important to remind both the committee and any other attendees that the point of the exercise is to request that funding be allocated to a certain end. And if it's a case that, let's say, the city was not providing assistance or making assistance readily available to this or that kind of business, and there was a need, and there was a corresponding, budget requirement in order to provide, to address that need, then that makes sense for a budget request. But if it is something that the city is already doing, or that we don't know if the city is doing or not because we haven't investigated it, I don't think that rises to the level of a budget request. I think the response that we got from the city so far as assistance to small businesses is that they do provide services to small businesses already. They did not distinguish whether it was, brick and mortar or otherwise. I think it's incumbent on the committee to re-engage with the agency to get that clarification based on the suggestion from the attendee. That, is this being made available to businesses that are not necessarily brick and mortar? Without knowing 100,000% for sure, I'm not going to say that it is or that it isn't, but it certainly is worth a conversation with the agency and not an assumption that there is a lack of such service being provided.
Okay, I understand, Angel. That makes a lot of sense. So, Tamika, we will definitely be reaching out to SBS and making sure, like Angel said, double checking that these services are also being given in the same way and in similar to businesses that are home based. And we can follow up with you as well with that information.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so we did, so right now we have 6, 9, and 12. We took off the remove. They're all keep. Jessica said something about 7 is also a remove. Is that correct? I can't see though.
Sorry, I keep muting myself. You're referring to line 7, request 14E. It's marked, it's a staff recommendation. You can ignore staff recommendation. Committee recommendation.
Correct. So, would the committee like to keep it as a removal? Jessica, did you suggest to keep it or just keep it as a removal?
No, so I think Stephanie brought up that it is related to COVID-19 safety regulations. We are past that. So I think
Okay.
there's an
So
agreement in removal. Yep.
Okay. Can we get to, so we have our keeps. Now we have to finish the prioritization. Eugene had mentioned theater.
Can we, Giselle, make a distinction between the capital requests and the expense requests before we assign priorities? 1, 2, and 3 are capital and the rest are expense. We have 12 in total, including our new one. I know overall, is there So line item 3, 4, and 5 are the 3 capital expenses. I can read them if you want. I've got the spreadsheet up here. If you're, it looks like you're on a phone based on the shape of your picture. So if you want some help with hands on deck to navigate the process, I'm happy to, or if Angel's
yes,
doing that.
if
Okay.
the committee wants, yeah, we can reread it for sure. Yep. I mean, those are the only 3 capital requests. So I guess we could first read the capital and then decide which priority from there.
Okay, so the first of the 3 capital expense requests is to invest in infrastructure that will support growth in commercial business districts. And it mentions 125th Street, 2nd Avenue Subway, Metro North. And it's a request to EDC. Should I just read all 3 of them? I'll read all 3 of them and then we can. And the goal is to indicate high priority, medium priority, or low priority, correct? Okay.
Correct.
The second one is other capital budget request for EDC. And that is a request for additional funding needed to redevelop La Marqueta. Pardon me for pronouncing La Marqueta terribly. And then the third one is invest in capital projects to improve access to the waterfront. Again, a request to EDC about explore improving access to the East River, including an additional pedestrian bridge across FDR and the East River, and additional space for pedestrians and cyclists.
Okay, I think 5 should be 1, in my opinion. I think that 4 should be 2 and 3 should be 3. I'm sorry. 3 should be low, 4 should be medium, and 5 should be high. Does anyone disagree?
You're saying 3 should be a low priority?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha.
I think investing in infrastructure along our commercial corridors should be high.
Okay. Does
Yeah, I would agree with investing in infrastructure being a high priority as well.
Okay. So we'll keep that as high priority, Angel. What about 4? La Marqueta, funding needed into making it a robust commercial and recreational space. High, medium, or low?
Medium for me.
Medium, anyone else for medium?
I would agree with medium.
I support medium. Isn't La Marqueta gonna be redone by the MTA?
No,
It's just La Placita,
Yeah,
not
But-
La Marqueta.
not La Marqueta.
Oh, so it's just the 115th area, not the 116th area, not the 115th area.
Correct.
yeah, but isn't that part of the MTA's
They're
plan?
only doing the
No,
Placita.
no, it isn't. The, what you're referring to is the replacement of the Park Avenue Viaduct, but the
Yeah.
southern phase of that project starts on the north side of 115th Street up to 120th Street. So it doesn't touch the south side, which is where La Marqueta is. So they won't be touching that.
Yes, but that includes La Placita.
Yes, that's what I said, La Placita.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. I thought that was part of the MTA.
But it's not the Marqueta part.
No, you
So
said
it's
La
not where-
Marqueta,
it's
you're
not where
trying to confuse me?
is or where-
The thing says La Marqueta, and they're really talking about Placita, aren't they?
No, the replacement that the MTA is doing is La Placita, the open space only.
Okay,
The La Marqueta where you're selling stuff, that's not being touched by the MTA.
oh, okay.
So this request is basically asking for funding for the Marqueta. Ugh,
Yes.
I don't know if it's a medium anymore.
Medium or high?
Well, so,
I'm-
sorry, just to sort of circle back on what my immediate response is, everything is high priority. But, you know, dollars, yes, high priority. But I think having seen, you know, what the priorities are in response from the public relative to the survey, these don't necessarily rise to high priority, period. So how do we reconcile that? And I guess it's difficult to assess this in a silo, right?
I understand what you're saying. I guess the way that I look at it is like, for example, the 125th project, I know it is investment in infrastructure, and I know that it's going to take a while to like get a study done, and there's going to be a lot of hands, like Uptown Grand Central is going to do a study as well to help with this. There's going to be a lot of time put into seeing this kind of, because, you know, move in terms of our requests or their answer. So I just think of it based on like that, but high, medium, or low, I think it should stay. The La Marquette, I think, has been a conversation as well for a long time of like activating it, making sure that you know, it's utilized the right way. So I agree with medium. I also agree with high. What do you guys think?
Feels
Go ahead.
both ways.
I think we should leave it at medium and come back to it.
Chairwoman.
ahead.
Very few of our neighbors who are not on the community board understand the difference between the capital budget and the expense budget. So I think community folks are more interested in what's going on the expense side than on the capital side. So it's the community board's duty to hold up that end, the capital project end. That's why I support high, medium, and high.
Okay, high, medium. I think we can keep, is everyone okay with keeping La Marqueta at medium, and then the East River, Esplanade, and Randall's Island as a high?
So the last one, number 5, exploring improving access to the East River. Specifically, my understanding is this line item is causing some confusion because it's so specific. It's asking for a pedestrian bridge across FDR and across the East River. So I'm not sure where that specificity is coming from in the reason. And the response, the last time it was requested, was it generated some confusion at OMB. And I guess the staff has recommended that we should talk to Parks, and I don't know, that EDC is not the right place to be asking for this. So I don't know when, right now we're trying to prioritize, but when do we sort out whether this request makes sense?
We kind of should have
Already. Good. So I guess that would be an argument for having it be a medium priority if we aren't really exactly sure how clear it is.
Is anyone else in agreement for medium, or do you want to stay with high?
So I am I on? I'm on. Sorry. So I agree with Jessica. Maybe we should sort out, but we're not there anymore. We're trying to figure out priorities. This would be a high priority. I know it's a high priority for the community. I just don't know, because now we should be reaching out to DOT or to Parks. Would this still stay in EchoDev, or would this then go to a different committee, Angel?
Yeah.
Good question.
That's a parks.
Angel.
I guess improving the access to the waterfront, and that's where the specificity came with the pedestrians being able to cross to and from and the cyclists. I do remember having a discussion last year when budget season came up on this one, and we did decide to keep it.
Just so you have Roberto's hand up.
A what? A what?
Roberto Perez has his hand up.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, Roberto.
Hey, how's it going? I'm sorry, just for my own edification, I just want to confirm that we are only ranking the first 3 line items.
Number 3, 4, and 5.
3, 4, 5. Gotcha.
Right now,
Thank you.
we're trying to rank all of them, right?
Ultimately, yeah.
Understood. But in terms of the capital budget request, is there a specific number, or does that include all?
Just 3, 4, and 5 is capital.
Just
The
3, 4, 5. Understood.
So I just did a quick read through of environment, open space and parks requests, and there is nothing like this there. That being said, all of their requests are hyper specific, asks for very clear things. So I think we're too late in the process to shift this request over to them. And we don't quite know if what we're asking for makes total sense. And to put that then as a high priority ahead of all of those other very specific, clear asks that other committees might bring to the table, I feel like would not be a best practice, even though it is important. And I would agree that we should figure out exactly what we're asking for before too long.
There's
And
nothing.
whether
sorry,
it's,
go ahead.
you know, I think it's too late in the process to, and I don't know if it is, but I get the sense that willy-nilly changes at this point are not a good idea. That this is about improving access to the East River Esplanade and Randall's Island. What we're suggesting, adding a pedestrian bridge to do that, that's where I start to scratch my head, and where we're being kind of asked, is EDC the right agency to be asking that from? So should we be putting that as a high priority or will that muddle the very clear asks that we may be making that are higher priority because they're actionable sooner and need dollars now, as opposed to what are you asking for, you want money for? So I would say medium priority, because we're a little bit unclear about who we're asking for what and how in that specific line item. Not that it doesn't matter, not that medium priority is not important, as important as La Maqueta. But
I'm surprised there isn't an ask in parks that has to do with like some type of pedestrian cross, but okay, we can keep it at medium, and then we definitely have to find out what to do with this line item, because if there's nothing in parks that's related to this, then EDC definitely isn't. No. So we'll keep it at medium, Angel. And we'll find out what to do with this. Is that okay with everyone? We can move on to expenses.
You got Jewel and Mia got their hands raised.
Okay, I'm not sure who was first. Go ahead. Hi, Jewel.
Jewel,
Thank you. So I just have a question in terms of the process and based on what Jessica just said. So, you know, in other committees, we're looking at what happened like last year in terms of, you know, the agencies that you had to speak to, what they said. So is that part of what we're doing here? Or did we already do that? Just like what happened last year? You know, is it something that the agency said we have no money, or, you know, go to someone else? Is that what we're doing here? I mean, has that already been done?
That has already been done. So in September's meeting, we took a look at our request, and everyone kind of had some time to look over things, see the reason. Today we're discussing what we're going to keep.
Oh, I know, yeah, I get that. This is it, because, Jesse just made a good point about, that should be in parks, so, right, you're saying that now, and you're saying, is it too late to, so why wasn't that, like, something like that, for example, discussed, like, in September or at another time? Because right now, this should be a kind of a quick thing I think we should be doing, is like, we already discussed a lot of, we're just prioritizing things, but now we're like, actually, like, looking at it's almost the substance of the actual request in terms of the substance, and that to me should have been like, already like discussed. But maybe it's just me, and feel free to just, keep going, but I just wanted to make just add that.
You're not wrong, Jewel. And I think the thing, it's taken me a couple of years and cycles to wrap my head around oh no, we're here again. Crap, we're here again. Which is really hard because there's so much work that needs to be happening kind of year round. So what you're asking about, this kind of the response and the adjustment to the response, whether it goes to a different committee or whether
Right.
we change it all together,
Right.
that continues to happen,
Okay.
each year. It's my understanding, Giselle, right? We will revisit this once it gets formalized and submitted. And Stephanie chairs the district needs and budget committee, will be responsible for, putting it all together, putting it forward, and then we will revisit it with a set of FY 24 responses, which is what we're on now. And I think that's the point at which we can sort of strategize ahead of next September to make sure that these things that we need are coming from the right place, geared towards the right agency. We do kind of get a rebuttal a little bit later, but it always feels like we're not able to do enough because we're hamstrung by the process. So that's why I think this realization that Eugene's comment inspired in us to be doing this year round in some
Right.
fashion.
Well, I mean, again, people don't know. I was, I've been part of the committee board like years ago, and it seemed like, this is an ongoing thing. And somebody had a question. This is an ongoing thing. It's something that the staff should be doing, the committee should be doing. It's an ongoing process. So like, when we get to this point in October, September, I'm just my concern about process. But thanks for listening. Okay, please continue, everybody.
Thank you, Jewel. That is, Angel does send this to us months in advance. So we all have this in our emails. You guys can take a look at it during the summer, after the budget process, during the budget process, and all of these documents are available to us. So I think, as a suggestion, like when September meetings start and we have that section, that moment in our meetings where like, okay, it's time to discuss, like that's when hands should be going up. That's when people should have like, okay, take this off, but this doesn't make sense. Cause like 2 or 3 people talking about it, things like this happen now. We're like, how did this even get here? Or why are we directing this to EDC? When it could have been caught in September or whatnot. So very good suggestion. I think that we can, again, next month's meeting, let's continue to take a look at this document, weed out what needs to be in and out. And let's continue the priority because I know that it's 7:30. Let's go to number 6. Eugene, go ahead, Eugene.
I just wanted to ask, is it too late to take out everything after Esplanade and Randall's Island, period? Explore improving access to the East River, Esplanade and Randall's Island, period.
You want to take it out completely, remove
The rest of that, by adding the additional production, take all that out. Can we do that?
Angel?
Yeah, it's up to you guys. It's your requests.
Well, I think if it's causing so much confusion, how you're going to get a bridge across the East River, I think we should just take it out and maybe leave it for the exploratory time that we have.
I also have one more question. Has the Parks Department already had their meeting? I think so, right?
Yes, Parks already had their meeting.
So it's not like we can send this back to Parks and have Parks connected to their request.
Right.
Never mind, sorry.
So
No,
I
it's
think
okay.
We can keep it.
to clarify, and I just, maybe so Eugene, I appreciate your suggestion to remedy. So and see how this floats. Explore improving access to the East River Esplanade and Randall's Island by adding an additional pedestrian bridge across the FDR and additional crossings over the East River. I think they're two separate things. And if you separate them, then they can say yes to one or no to one. I think you do them differently. You know, crossing the East River, could that be by a boat or a ferry or a pedestrian bridge? I think crossing FDR would be by a pedestrian bridge.
There is a pedestrian bridge now that goes to Randall's Island. They
Right.
could use another access bridge from, let's say, like 116th Street to the Esplanade. But other than that, I don't see the need to build another span across the East River. And plus, how much would that cost?
Well, so I think what they're getting, what we're getting at with this request is more access. And potentially there are ferry landings on the Randall's Island side. There are no ferry landings for any kind of boats on East Harlem side,
No, there's a pier,
but it's not a ferry landing.
not yet.
We're not asking for a ferry landing,
Okay,
but we could.
how about that?
I have a quick question, Jessica, since you're in the Parks committee, is there anything that has to do with the Esplanade?
I'm no longer in the Parks Committee. I know I float around. The other Jessica chairs the Parks Committee, which is also confusing. Yes, they do have Esplanade-based asks, but they're very specific to certain parts of the Esplanade, in my understanding.
Could we as a committee vote to remove this and leave it there, and then maybe after this budget season, next budget season, send this back over to the Parks Committee and have them reference this?
I think that's a
Since
good idea.
It's not part of our committee. It's not even one of the agencies within our committee. We're not sure how to prioritize this. I think we all want money and we all want services to and things to go to the Esplanade. But in this case, since it doesn't pertain to us and we really don't know how to move this forward, I think we should remove it. That is my suggestion.
How does everyone else feel about removing number 5?
So I see Angel's hand, and he may be able to untangle this mess. I don't think
No,
removing.
no, I don't untangle messes. I make messes.
And we thank you for that.
No, I agree with myself and you guys that this should be removed. And I think that the appropriate thing to do is speak with the agencies that do this work more directly. The confusing thing with EDC is that EDC, most of their projects don't do directly, but they do get involved in other people's projects. Like we heard last month about them doing some work on the Esplanade. So like some capital work, they'll get pulled in, like some capital projects they'll get pulled into, but they don't like necessarily kind of originate those kinds of projects in all cases. I think it's something that makes sense to have conversations, like I noted in the staff recommendations with DOT or with the Parks Department. And I think, I forget who mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, that if we're going to pursue a question of increasing pedestrian access to the Esplanade and or the island, that they should be separate. There's already, like Eugene said this, there's already a pedestrian crossing on 103rd Street, and there's also a pedestrian crossing on 125th Street. It isn't the sweetest, happiest place, but it does exist. So I think that's a lot of the resistance that we'll get from the city in terms of like asking for a capital investment to access Randall's. But the Esplanade, I think we can ask for both, but I would separate them. And I think the Esplanade is one that if and when they finally do get us up to, modern times with the Esplanade, that a nice happy crossing to the Esplanade makes sense. And we only have the 103rd Street. There'll be an at-grade at 125th Street, but nothing in between those two. That's a lot of walking. It's healthy, it's good for the heart, but I think we can make the argument. I hope that tangled it more.
You said at grade. You got me
At grade
at
at grade
grade.
at 125.
At grade at 106. At grade.
At grade at 106?
Doesn't
No.
exist yet. Now
No,
I'm
no,
just
no,
really
no.
making a mess, Angel.
No. If I said that, I made a mistake. I meant to say at grade on 125th.
Upgrade.
At grade.
At
Grade. You can just walk. There's going to be a new park there. You can just go into it. There won't be a
okay.
bridge.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Removing this to clarify it breaks my heart. But I see why we would do it.
Let's do it.
Same, but yeah, let's do it. That's right, you do.
Okay, so let's remove 5.
Okay. So
Should we
what,
look at the other removal? Just,
you got to take out the priority too.
Yeah. Well, okay. Expense now, Giselle.
okay. 6, provide or expand occupational skills training. Allocate funding for workforce development programs that provide certification, technical training. So this goes back to what Eugene was saying about the workforce development programs that we're going to look into. What priority should we give this? High, low, or medium?
I give it a medium.
Anyone else? Give it a high, but
Giselle, if I may, I agree with that. If it helps at all, folks to consider the number that was assigned to it last year and maybe kind of informing,
okay.
giving some context to jump off from.
Okay, so last year it was given high, correct?
So last year, if you look at the number, it'll tell you. So like the tracking code, the last couple of digits tells you where it landed. So like the E is expense, and then the number right before it, those 2 digits tell you where it was. So this was the 3rd priority under expense list.
That's really helpful, Angel.
You're welcome.
So like the next one, that's 314E was number 14.
It's 14E.
Okay. And they're all in order right now,
Yeah.
except for this new one at the bottom.
Yeah, so I'll transcribe what this mumbo jumbo of numbers means. So 3 is our borough, that's Manhattan. 11 is our district. 2013 is the fiscal year, and then the number of the priority and the type of.
That was our $1.50.
Just the letter.
Thank you, Angel. That was super helpful.
So for
Okay.
line item 6, we would say that would be still a high priority.
Yes, I think so.
It's like Eugene accepting your medium and raising you the high.
I'll low bid you. Sorry.
So we'll keep that request as high. Is that okay? Yes.
Okay. If it helps me to push you guys along, I can do that.
Okay. Thank you, Angel.
All right. All right. So line 8, we're keeping, it's the extended library hours. Last year, it was the 23rd expense. You're agonizing.
Our reason is based on COVID-19, which I think should be amended, but I think it's still, you said it was a high priority, Kendall?
It was the 23rd.
23rd, so no.
Okay,
I think there is kind of still like a social impact based off of the pandemic. And
the wording will change. You see in the committee recommended revision that kind of suggested revision. So I'll merge those two and take out the 19.
okay. So we keep that
medium priority.
medium. Medium, I agree with medium.
Medium priority for sure.
All right, medium.
Okay, line 9, to keep for expanding programs for emergency and legacy industries. Last year it was 32 expense, so it was a lower priority. Want me to go to the next one?
Well, I think the next one should be higher priority than this one. I don't know if that matters.
I'm okay with medium for 9, but we can skip it and then come back if you guys want.
I second medium for 9.
Medium for 9. That's fine on my end.
All right. Line 10, to keep support local CBOs efforts to improve public space through management, maintenance, and programming. This is to help revitalize the 125th Street commercial corridors. Fund the nonprofit with credible messengers on crime reduction. Last year, this was a very low priority. It's 48 expense.
I'd like to say this is a high priority.
High priority.
I agree.
Aye.
Item 9 as well. I think it's just so important for attracting investment as well.
Angel, just point of clarification, how does it get reconciled if we have too many collective across the board from all the different committees, too many high priorities? Do we get bumped?
That is private. I can't tell you that. And certainly not
Discretionary action by the
certainly not
chair?
on the record. I'm gonna have to agonize over it and figure out a number to present to executive on Thursday.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we say this matters, then we really
Yeah,
figure out how
I
much it
certainly take it into
matters.
consideration. Yeah, I try to move it up as
Right.
much as I can.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have like 7 other committees saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep 10 as high. Is that okay?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So Giselle, I'm gonna need you to say after you hear from your committee members what I should do. Okay.
Okay, so 9,
So you're saying high on this one? I'm not line 10?
correct. 10 is high priority and 9 is medium priority or high? Everyone agreed with medium?
Yeah.
Okay, 11.
So line 11 is a keep. It's other business regulatory assistance requests. In advance of the commercial organics requirement, the city must provide additional support to local businesses to ensure they're in compliance with the law. Further funding is needed to incentivize businesses to transition to more sustainable business practices.
I'm okay.
This was a low priority last year.
I would agree with low priority.
Anybody for medium?
I would agree with low.
I guess it's low then. Then 11 is low priority.
I'm only not saying anything because there are other ways to skin this cat. So low it is.
Okay.
And then lastly, line 12 is a new request to expand programming and activation of city-owned sites, community theater. This is more of a statement. I got to make this into a request. Where's the request here? Seeing positive impact, blah, 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 blah. So The CLA must invest time and effort. We have to say money. Or they're gonna say it's not a budget request. For example, circulating, blah, 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 blah. Together, we must continue to raise the bar. Okay, this needs to be translated into a budget request. I get the idea, but we have to say money or they're gonna push it back.
In the committee I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
In the committee recommendations, can we put that we request a meeting between EDC and DCLA to discuss how this project can move? We need a meeting.
So it's not appropriate here, but we can certainly make that recommendation outside of this exercise.
Okay.
So Angel, did we fix that by saying these, by like bolding
I'm gonna use this line I highlighted and just maybe tweak a word or two
okay.
to point it to money, so I can invest in activating them so they don't push it back to us.
Time and
But
effort equals
I'll
money.
stay within the spirit. I just don't want to write it now because I type terribly and you're gonna see how bad I am at it.
So high or medium for this one?
Please, high. Super high.
Someone's gonna have to restrain Eugene.
I'm in Eugene's corner for this one. I think it should be high.
Thank you.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate here and
Stop.
suggest that we,
No.
not because I don't love it, but it's interesting when new budget requests find their way onto our asks, there's a lot of enthusiasm. And at the same time, we see line items that languish year after year with the same response. So if this gets a high priority, I want to hear about it and I want to be a part of making it happen to get dollars allocated for good things. So, you know, if you want my let's prioritize this high vote, then the kind of the action, the advocacy behind it has got to be there too, right? It's important. I think everything is important. If you say it's important and you're going to actively engage through the community board and beyond to make sure that something gets done about it, then that is something I would love to support.
I
High
don't,
priority.
I can ballpark you some figures, but I think this is a longer discussion if you want to really get into the weeds. But right now, this is actually not a new request. This has been as part of the community board for many years. I don't know when they dropped it, but I know many years ago they supported the idea. And then, like you said, it fell between the cracks. So while it's new to us or new to the community board here, I've been working on this for 20 years. And we're to a position now where we need one more politician to get on board and it'll be a go. And that's the congressman.
Should we keep it as high?
Please.
There was two people for high. I think Jessica was also a high.
I'm a medium priority.
Okay, medium, high. I'm high.
Okay. And
So
that's the
going
end
for
of the
high?
list.
Stephanie?
Oh, I thought I said high.
Okay. Okay. So four highs, one medium. So it's number 12 is high.
Thank you.
I'm hungry.
Me too.
Just wanted to share something very important. The Yankees won
What?
Woo, finally.
5-1.
What you
After
doing
keeping
watching
after
the ball
keeping
game
you
while we up in
waiting till
here?
10 o'clock last night.
I can multitask.
What you doing watching the ball game while we trying this?
It was a high priority for me.
Yeah, it was a high priority for me too.
I know.
I'm sorry.
So that's that part of the exercise. This is to save us from ourselves here. I'm going to close that. Stop sharing this. And then find the presentation. Where the hell did I put it? There.
Giselle, I had, and this might be out of order, but I may have missed the segment of the meeting when it was appropriate. I don't really know which segment that was. But the executive order that I sent through that I wanted to share with the committee as an advocacy point in continuing to do the work of economic development and culture in East Harlem. When is the appropriate time to?
I would say, is that announcements or at the end, new business, right? We can do new business. Can we do that in new business, Angel? Or should we?
It's up to you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Is
we
it a
can do
business
that in-
item or just a discussion topic?
It's not business.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're done. Warren never showed up, so
So
you're good.
just,
It's all you, Giselle. Do it. Give Jessica the floor to
new
say the
business, any,
thing.
So under new business, all right. Thank you, Giselle. So I became aware, and this is just for committee members' interest, and in the larger frame of continuing to do the work of the committee and budget requests beyond just right now. There's an executive order from the president at the end of September, signed on September 30th. The executive order on promoting the arts, the humanities, and museum and library services. I just want to read a little bit from that and suggest that it be something we use to engage with our fellow board members in cross-committee collaborations, but also in advocating for community-based economic development and culture in a lot of the other investments that are going on in our district, throughout our district, that I think some of the language embedded in the executive order, and I highlighted like 5 or 6 sentences that I'd like to share with you all about that, if that's okay with you, Giselle.
of course. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And I'm happy to share a link to this with anyone who has interest. But so executive order on promoting the arts, the humanities, and museum and library services. Essentially from the federal OMB, which is a similar process, except much more convoluted than what we go through in the city. It essentially reestablishes a committee for improved federal coordination of advancing the arts, humanities, museum, and library services. So we know these are essential to well-being, health, vitality, and quote, the democracy of our nation. They inspire us, provide livelihoods, sustain, anchor, and bring cohesion within diverse communities across the country and also here where we do our work. They stimulate creativity and innovation. They help us understand and communicate our values as a people, compel us to wrestle with our histories and enable us to imagine our future. They invigorate and strengthen our democracy, and they point the way towards progress. By reaffirming this, the intent is to strengthen our creative and cultural economy, including by enhancing and expanding opportunities for artists, humanities scholars, students, educators, and cultural heritage practitioners, which I think is something East Harlem has a lot of, but don't necessarily get the promotion that they need, as well as museums, libraries, archives, historic sites, colleges, universities, and other institutions that support their work. So here's the important part is someone saying that the arts, humanities, museum, and library services will be integrated into strategies, policies, and programs that advance the economic development, well-being, and resilience of all communities, especially those that have been historically underserved. The these things will promote and expand to strengthen public, physical, and mental health, wellness, and healing, with the intention of strengthening the nation's democracy, increasing civic engagement, public service, bolstering social cohesion, and to advance the cause of equity and accessibility. So, I think what this boils down to for me, when I read this, I know how important arts and culture is to the authenticity of a place, and a place that changes over time, and a place that finally gets what it needs after decades and generations of asking for things and fighting for things and demanding things. What this is saying is that a whole host of federal agencies and funding streams have to work together to incorporate the arts and the humanities in their service delivery. So however creative we can be to encourage federal dollars to be spent in our district in ways that support the humanities through their capital investments or programs, I think it's our job to point to something like this and say, hey, and what about the cultural overlay? What about the additional programming to support artists? Because there is now a mandate that senior officials shall advise, coordinate with, and consider undertaking joint projects and initiatives with these other large arts organizations. So it's on the table for us to refer to continue to advocate for arts and humanities in any activities that receive dollars from a whole host of funding streams. Happy to share if anybody has any questions. I know it seems really far away because it's some guy with a pen and a desk and a big white house, but I think, Eugene, to your point of having worked for decades on raising awareness about something, there comes a time when you can finally connect the dots and know how important something is when you see the rest of the pieces fall into place. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that, Jessica. That was, I did look at the email briefly when you sent it. And I think that is important as well. I was having a conversation with, it was weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. And it did occur to me to like somehow incorporate art in the hallways of the NYCHA buildings. Not even just art, because I think sometimes they miss the message, but like something as simple as like, an inventor of something, like who invented the microwave or the iron? It was an African American or a Hispanic, someone that looks like them. And I think that even that ties into like the arts, the humanities, one of the goals that they try to do in the museums and the libraries is like, take these messages, these representations, and like activate something in the residents to get them to just have hope. Sometimes it's all you need to just get out of the rut that you're in, or a sense of mentality that you may have that you were just taught, not necessarily that you want to, or have any fault of your own. So I think that we should take a look at this and utilize this executive order to the best of our ability, especially since it's tying into the EchoDev. And now that we have all these new interests, new members on the committee, look at our request, look at this executive order and see how we can work every single month, even if it's just 20 minutes of our meeting, and see how we can give time to this, if that's something that sounds good to you guys. Anybody with any other questions or comments to what Jessica was saying?
Yeah, Jessica, I don't want you to be depressed. I've been working this whole summer with my son, and we've been doing peace murals in the projects. I produced 4 readings of plays in Wagner projects where they were having all the problems between the gangs and stuff. And my son's been very instrumental in getting artwork into the projects in the neighborhood. My one problem is that, as I said at the last meeting we were at, I don't know if it was Echo Dev, but only 20% of the kids in the neighborhood get to go to an after-school program in the neighborhood. And that is specifically because the last Republican mayor took all those programs out of the community centers in the neighborhood, and they never replaced them adequately. But if art is a way to, like I always tell people, nobody ever asks an actor what his criminal record is. As a matter of fact, sometimes I like a guy that's done some time in jail to play a part or write a script or even write a poem. And I help them with that. And there's a lot of people in the neighborhood that do that. The problem, as I see it, is that our big institutions like the Julia de Burgos, and I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but El Museo del Barrio, neither of them are really conducive to helping young kids develop their artistic talents in the neighborhood. And that's a shame. So I'm working on it.
Thank you, Eugene.
Jessica, was that a press release, or is that something that like you can share a link or share the PDF to that so we can all have?
Yeah, Stephanie, there's a link. I will, let me fish it out and I will put it in the chat before y'all go. Or we can also include the link in our minutes so that it's publicly available. And my takeaway from both Eugene and Giselle, it's art and culture, humanities, it's the stuff that's all around us, that is intangible goods about how we relate to one another, and more formally, yes, through performance, through art, but also just through culture and sharing who we are in public. Kitty. Yeah, he's hungry too, Stephanie. I'll put a link in the chat. Hang on, let me find it.
Thank you, Jessica. Angel, you can move. Is there any other new business? Okay. Not hearing any. We are ready for our roll call. Go ahead, Angel. Thank you.
Sure. Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Stephanie.
Here.
April.
Present.
Dem.
Present.
Devin.
Present.
Jewel.
Present.
Giselle.
Present.
Jennifer.
Present.
Jessica.
Here.
Robert.
Present.
Eugene.
Present.
You have quorum. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Motion to adjourn.
I hate it.
Night. You, Giselle.